there are rumblings inside the College Football Playoff Committee from the SEC and Big Ten commissioners, particularly the SEC, that this format for the playoff has accidentally devalued the conference championship game, which is a gigantic moneymaker for the SEC. You know it, Dave. It is a huge. Nothing brought the SEC more money than that conference title game and expansion in '92, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's an event. It's something that's just short of the Super Bowl. I mean, what sporting event? I mean, you could say Game 7s, but those don't happen every year. What annual sporting event other than the Super Bowl is bigger than the SEC championship game?
The semifinals of the Final Four that Saturday.
That's a great day, but that's 2 events. So I think it's been that successful, and it's been the shiny gem of the SEC, and I don't think they want to let that go. Speaking of gems, Rick Terry wants to be your jeweler. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? How about the fire opals of a Tennessee tradition? Don't laugh at me. RickTerryJewelry.com, RickTerryJewelry.com. Tell them Off the Hook Sports sent you. Tennessee tradition truly is, no question about it. With the conference championship, I'll ask you this question. And I'm going to paint you into a corner. Is that okay if I do that, Caleb?
Okay.
Would you rather win? Some of these are easy. Would you rather win the SEC championship or the national championship? Because you could win the national championship without the SEC. So this one's easy, right?
Yes, national championship.
Okay.
Today's.
Oh, oops, wrong sounder. Let's go with the hey now.
Hey now.
Absolutely. All right. Win the SEC championship, get bounced in the first round of the college football playoff.
It would be the second round because you would automatically get a first round bye if you win the SEC championship.
Okay, get bounced in your first round. So,
yep.
which would you take? An SEC championship or bounced in your first round, whatever your first round may be?
Well, obviously, if it's either or, you take the SEC title. But I think what you mean is SEC championship and you get bounced in the first round in your first game, or something else.
Well, what is this? But
like win the SEC championship or lose a playoff game? Obviously, win the SEC championship. I think what you meant to say is win the SEC title and get bounced in the first round, or something else.
Well, but I mean, what it would be more significant? No, I didn't mean to ask it another way. Maybe I phrased it wrong. What would be more significant to you if Tennessee won an SEC championship game or made the college football playoff? To me, if you're
they
not
would make the college football playoff if they won an SEC championship.
I know, but what is more significant? What do you hang your hat on at the end of the day? When they're celebrating this team, and I'm writing celebrate.
This is a false dichotomy of why the conference championships don't matter, though.
Well, I think they do matter. But this
is like win the SEC or get bounced out in the first round of the playoff. Like you're going to the playoff if you win the SEC. Like what? That's not even a choice.
Okay. How about this? We'll make it really simple. Win the SEC or make the national championship game. You lose.
Okay, so how about this?
You lose, but you make the national championship game. Give me.
How about this? Wait. I got a better one. Win the SEC and get bounced out in your first game of the playoff. Those two things, or go play for the national title and lose. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yes.
Okay. Go play for the national title and lose. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly why. Recruiting's a big deal in college football, more than college basketball. You don't want the reputation of being the program that chokes in the playoff. You don't want the Rick Barnes reputation in college football.
No. Okay, but would you take SEC championship or lose in the national championship game by 50?
Okay, SEC championship then. SEC championship, because you also don't want to be the team that loses by 50 because then you're TCU and you're considered a program that never belongs
and got lucky.
Yeah. Okay. So
what about this? What about this? SEC championship, or you lose by a possession. in the national championship game.
Lose by if I win the SEC, how far do I go in the playoff?
Well, no, you lose by possession in the national championship.
No,
game, so
you said SEC championship, or I lose by a possession in the national title game. My question was, how far do I go in the playoff on top of winning the SEC championship?
First round bounce.
Lose by a possession in the national title game. Not even a question. The reputation you get from a first round bounce after winning the SEC would be so humiliating that it would wreck your program recruiting. It would be the number 1 seed losing to a number 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. Level humiliating.
It wouldn't be that bad.
It is. Now here's where this is all coming in, and this is why I wanted to bring this up. Dave, there's a reason Notre Dame is not. They actually agreed to this college football playoff format where they can't get a first round bye. You know why?
Why?
Yeah, they have to play an extra playoff game, but they don't have to play a conference championship game, so it cancels out. So think about this for a minute. Just think about this if you're Notre Dame. You could play an extra game in which you get a home game as the 5 seed or 6 seed against a lower seed, right? In the first round. You get a home game in the first round. Or you have to win your conference championship game against another elite team on a neutral field. Both teams end up in the same spot if they win. Second round of the playoff. Makes no difference whatsoever. The SEC, and this is what Greg Sankey's worried about, the playoff has taken away the incentive to play for the conference champion. One, you'd rather be the third team than the second team in the SEC. Would you rather be the second team and lose the SEC title, or be the third team, not have to play the game, but you still go to the playoff?
I'd rather win the SEC title.
I didn't say win. I said, would you rather lose the SEC title?
But if I'd rather have the opportunity to play for it. I'd rather I know you're telling me I'm going to lose, but I want to be on that stage, and I want to believe. I know it's nostalgia, and you're right, Caleb. Be nice about it. But I want to believe that the conference championship games still mean a lot. I want to believe.
Then you have to make them mean a lot. You have to restructure the playoff format. This is the problem. You have to restructure the playoff format for them to mean a lot, or else they're conference tournaments in basketball. That's all they are.
I know.
And
that's the one thing about the whole playoff that I don't like, that I'm trying to avoid. Somebody asked, is John coming on today? No, John is a little bit under the weather. That's the only thing. It's kind of like, you get married to the love of your life, and you're going to spend the next 50 years with her, and everything's going to be great. But, dating good-looking girls isn't that bad either. It's the one, it's the one thing that I can't cope with, is that the SEC championship game might be a big nothing. I love that event.
It's a sacrifice that you made for expanding the playoff, but there is a fix, and this is what they're working on right now, and there is no resolution. They haven't figured it out. But here's what I think is going to happen. I think the SEC and the Big Ten. What do you think of this, Dave? Let's just stick with the SEC, because that's the one. No other conference championship game is an event like the SEC, right? Like, none of them have the magnitude that the SEC one does. No. It's so much more. So the SEC, what would you say if they split into divisions? Okay. And there was kind of like a mini playoff within the SEC that was embedded into the college football playoff.
You've got me interested.
That's something that they have promoted. Here's a philosophy I've thought of. The SEC eventually goes to 24 teams. Let's say they go to 24. All right, fair number. And okay, they have 3 8-team divisions. Okay, 3 divisions with 8 teams. The champions of those divisions, and then one wild card voted on by like the AP poll or whatever, like who they think is the best team that didn't win those divisions. Those 4 play a playoff, and then the winner goes to play the winner of the Big Ten that has the same format for the national title.
I'm good with that. One thing that's going to make me physically ill, though, is if a team from the SEC were to play, let's say they were a 2-loss team, but they make it to the SEC championship game and they lose by a possession to Georgia in Atlanta, and then Wisconsin makes the playoffs, and it's viewed nationally as they had not Wisconsin, I'm sorry, Cincinnati. I was trying to pick a random team, and Cincinnati makes it, or somebody else makes. I'm trying to think of a TCU, like they made it that year. That's what I don't want to see, because to me, making it through the SEC schedule, especially with what it is, it's going to be so much more difficult.
That's not going to happen. There's 7 at-large bids. So 2-loss teams from the SEC are getting automatic bids. Have you ever seen a 2-loss team?
This would be a 3-loss team. This would be a 2-loss team going into the SEC championship game and then losing by a possession against Georgia.
I still think they're getting an automatic bid. Not an automatic bid. I still think they're getting in. They're pretty easily getting a bid, because there's probably another 2-loss team that's third in the SEC. So that's also getting in. Because what happens, say there's 2-loss teams that finish second and third. The 2-loss team that goes to the SEC title loses. They have 3 losses. Does that mean the team that finished third in the SEC is ahead of them because they only have 2 losses, even though they didn't play an extra game? I mean, that's where the incentive structure is coming in right now, where you'd rather be third than second. If Tennessee's playing Georgia for the SEC title in a rematch this year, if I'm Tennessee, I'm resting everybody. I'd rather have a home game in the first round of the playoff than have to play Georgia.
This would be a lot easier if the Pac-12 hadn't imploded. I mean, really, that was kind of the foundation. You had 5 conferences, and now that it's imploded, it makes it much more difficult.
It'd be a lot easier if they just went to 8 teams.
Oh yeah.
If they just had 8 and had the 5 Power 5 conference champions and 1 auto bid, and then 1 lower level, and then 2 wild cards.
No, I agree. I agree with that. Did you even think 12 was a possibility when they came out and announced that? It was just like in the middle of the day, out of nowhere. I'd never even heard of 12. We weren't working together when they announced that, did they? Did we?
Yeah. No, we weren't working together. I didn't think it was a possibility, but
bizarre.
I kind of knew that was where they were going, because the SEC was very firmly against auto bids, because they knew that at large bids there were going to be more SEC teams in there, and Notre Dame was very firmly against auto bids unless it went to 12, because otherwise there'd only be 2 spots available for them in the playoff.
I mean, I know you don't like playoffs in general, the playoff in general, but 16 even makes more sense than 12.